What's up, community? It is Ryan Frank, and welcome to another episode of the KidzMatter Podcast. So grateful for your time and your attention today. And it's going to be great to be together next week at the KidzMatter Conference in Evansville, Indiana. Excitement is building, and we cannot wait to see you there. If some of you are still on the fence, you can still get a ticket. Just go to thekidsmatterconference.com. It's going to be great having 3,000 Kidmin leaders and their teams together, over 100 ministry partners, 6 amazing main stage sessions, over 200 specialized ministry breakouts. Someone's even going to win a Mini Cooper. It may be you. Hey, today I had the opportunity to talk. Actually, I talked to this person the other day. Today I had the opportunity to share with you a conversation that I had a few days ago with Dallas Jenkins. Dallas is the creator of The Chosen. How many of you love The Chosen? He is the director of a brand new film that will be premiering at the KidzMatter Conference, by the way. You can watch it on Monday evening after the early check-in party. Name of this movie is The Best Christmas Pageant Ever. Maybe you read that book when you were a kid. Well, it is coming to the big screen November the 8th. And we had a wonderful conversation. I know you're going to love it. He had some great words of encouragement as well for those of you that are children's ministry leaders. But before I bring you that interview, let me thank Planning Center, because this episode of the KidzMatter Podcast is brought to you by our friends at Planning Center. Planning Center is the all-in-one toolkit to help you organize and run your kids' ministry. With an easy-to-use platform of products, you can empower your staff and volunteers to care for the kids and families of your church. We use Planning Center at our church at the KidzMatter Conference, and we would love for you to try it. You can get started for free at planningcenter.com, planningcenter.com. Now, once again, I'm bringing you into a conversation I had a few days ago on Zoom with Dallas Jenkins, the director of the brand new The Best Christmas Pageant Ever. This is a film that I'm excited about, our family's excited about it, and I know that you will be as well. I know that you're going to enjoy this conversation with Dallas Jenkins. So let's get this show on the road. Ladies and gentlemen, the man himself, Dallas Jenkins. Enjoy. What's up, Dallas? Welcome to the KidzMatter Podcast.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited about this because this movie is for your audience. So
it is, isn't it? I mean, there are some of the movies are, is it a good fit? Is it not a good fit? This is one that is a great fit. And, it kind of makes me feel old in the sense that I read this book when I was a kid, and that was, 40 years ago or something like that.
Yeah.
But what a great story. So we're excited about this. Thank you and your team for your partnership at the KidzMatter Conference. And I know, Dallas, you have a lot of raving fans in the children's ministry community. We are grateful for everything that you are doing for the kingdom. And we love the Chosen series. Our family loves the Chosen series. And so we're very grateful and very appreciative of what you're doing. So keep up the great work.
Well, that means a lot. Thank you.
Yeah. So, okay, let's start by, Dallas, you're busy. You are so many great things happening with the Chosen. And I know you have your hands in other things as well. But tell us why The Best Christmas Pageant Ever. I know everybody's anxious to see this movie, get behind it. Why? What made you think, man, let's do something Christmas. Let's do something around this Hallmark book that's been around for so long?
So what's funny is I've actually been passionate about this long before The Chosen. If you would have asked me at any point in the last 20 years, and some people have, what's the one movie you want to make? What's the one project? What's your dream project? It's The Best Christmas Pageant Ever. The Chosen came, out of the blue and took over my life. And of course, the rest is history. But 20 years ago, my wife, Amanda, was at a Pottery Barn and saw it on the shelf. I don't know why a book was on the shelf at Pottery Barn, but she was, they were doing a little special for it. And she's like, oh, I read this book as a kid. And I had read it as a kid as well. And I'd seen the little TV movie that they did in the early 80s. And it's been a play all over the world, but I didn't remember much about it. And so we brought it home and we read it to our kids. And I'm not exaggerating when I tell you this. I was reading it, and in the first chapter, I'm laughing. It's very, very funny. It's brilliant writing. The story is great. And so we're chuckling and laughing. And then early on, I would get choked up at little comments, little moments. And I'm realizing, man, this is a Jesus story. Like How is this public famous book that's
Yeah.
been read in public schools
Oh, my
all
word.
over the country? How is this so Jesus-y? And then I get to the end and I'm weeping. Like I am reading it and I can't read. And I even get emotional thinking about it. So
Yeah.
I hand it to my wife because she's like, let me do it, And then she starts crying and she hands it back to me. And it became a Christmas tradition to not only read this book to our kids, but for our kids to make fun of us because mom and dad can't get through it without crying. And I don't know that Amanda and I have ever even talked about some of the moments from this story without crying.
Mm-hmm.
So it was that's the why. When I was this is 20 years ago, I said I have to make this movie. This is the movie I was born to make.
And
It's
that's
Kids, which I've always had a heart for kids. I have an adopted son. We've done a lot of work in communities of without troubled kids, the foster care system, all that stuff. And this book is funny. It's very funny. And on the surface, when they talk about the Herdmans, the 6 kids, they're the worst kids in the history of the world. And no one understands this more than those who are listening or watching right now, which is when you're in charge of a ministry at your church, a kids ministry, everyone has had that moment where kids come in and you go, uh-oh, I'm going to have to spend a good chunk of my time managing these kids. And 99 times out of 100, their parents are either absentee or it's a single mom or dad. Or it's someone who's coming from a troubled background or extreme poverty, and they're broken. Now we're all broken, but then there's some kids who are uniquely broken. And so on the surface, it's funny, and they're referred to as the worst kids in the history of the world by everyone else, and they're made fun of or they're feared because they're bullies, and they are legitimately bad kids. But when you read the book and when you watch this movie, there's all these breadcrumbs of like, wait a minute, I know why these kids are the way they are, and I know what they need. And so what's funny is, or I shouldn't say funny, but what's interesting about this story that spoke to my heart so much, and which I think can speak to the hearts of people all over the world through this movie, is that the Herdmans are going to get something from the church because the elevator pitch of this movie is they take over the church's Christmas Eve Christmas pageant, and they scare everybody in the church, and all the adults think this is the worst thing ever and that the kids should be kicked out of the church. They take over the Christmas pageant, and yes, they are introduced to the nativity story, and it changes them. Yes, that's not a huge spoiler, but they're giving something to the church as well, because their unique perspective of poverty and outsider status actually means that they are closer to the heart of the nativity story and Mary and Joseph, and even, yes, the baby Jesus, than we are in our kind of suburban American safety. And so the adults and even the kids, the non-Herdman kids, get as much from the Herdmans and their interpretation of the Christmas story as we give them. And that's what's so beautiful about the story and why I had to tell it.
Hey, community, it is Ryan. I hope that you're enjoying my conversation with Dallas Jenkins. Want to jump in real quick and thank another one of our sponsors. First, why do some kids misbehave or try to seek attention, especially in your kids' ministry, right? We see it all the time. The reality is there may be some painful reasons behind those behaviors. So instead of asking what's wrong with you or what happened, maybe you could say, hey, tell me your story. Tyndale has a brand new book called Caring for Kids from Hard Places: How to Help Children and Teens with a Traumatic Past. And you know what? Boy, kids have so much trauma today, don't they? We see it in our ministries. We see it in our communities. Well, in this book, you can help kids with these behavioral challenges. You'll get insights to understand and help them share about what's going on in their life, help you create a trauma-informed space, facilitate healing, and we'll even give you some tips for creating sensory-smart spaces in your church. You can buy Caring for Kids from Hard Places at your favorite bookstore or go to tyndale.life/caring. That is tyndale.life/caring, and you can buy it for 20% off. Go check out that book. Now, here's my conversation again with Dallas Jenkins.
Children's ministry leaders I'd love to hear from you, Dallas, on this. Children's ministry leaders are always looking for ways to engage families, kids and families around faith. And I have to think that a film like this is a great opportunity to do that. Do you agree?
So I am usually hesitant to pitch any of my projects, including The Chosen,
Hmm.
to churches or ministries as an essential tool,
Hmm.
because not because it's not true, and not because it can't be, but I'm always a little concerned about coming off as I don't know what term to use, maybe self-motivated.
Sure.
I've been, I worked at a church for many years,
Mm.
and there's always other ministries or other initiatives pitching themselves to you.
Yep.
And I never want to get in the way of what someone's initiative is. And sometimes they just don't match. I love The
Mhm.
Chosen. Obviously, I'm the creator of it. I think it's important. But if a pastor said, you know what, it's not for us for XYZ reasons, I would never want to get in the way of a shepherd and his flock, ever.
Sure.
I would say this probably more confidently than even any other project that I've done, including The Chosen, because The Chosen, of course, has that elephant in the room of it's not an exact reenactment of scripture. And there are some churches that might be
Right.
uncomfortable with that. This is not, the Christmas Pageant Ever isn't,
Mhm.
scripture. But if there is one group of people who this movie is more for, and I would stand on a hill saying this, it's children's ministry leaders trying to get in families engaged,
Mhm.
because you have a range of families that you are trying to minister to. There are sometimes the families that are hardcore evangelical, raising their kids in the church, and the kids are the ones who know all the Bible stories. And then on the other side of the spectrum are the guests or the
Mhm.
outsiders, and they have to be told the story for the first time. This movie is not only about, in many ways, how to engage outsider kids and how to match what the church is supposed to be about,
Mhm.
which is the hands and feet of Jesus, but also a discipleship opportunity for those who are already there, how to marry those two things, because sometimes they're in conflict. How do
Mhm.
you go deeper into the stories of the Gospels or
Yeah,
the entire Bible with your kids who are a little bit more learned, at the
that's
same
so
time as
true.
trying to handhold newcomers, right? It's hard.
Mhm.
This movie is all about that. It's also a love letter to moms. It's a love letter to volunteers. It's a love letter to church workers who are trying to figure out how to serve the children and in
I
their
love that.
that God brings to them. And so I don't know, and I'm saying this objectively, not as the one who made this movie.
Mhm.
For this audience specifically, I honestly don't know if there's ever been a movie
Yeah,
more dedicated to celebrating and, in fact, even hopefully educating a little bit those of us who are on the front lines of family ministry.
100%. Those of you that are going to be at the Kids Matter, well, as we release this in 1 week, you'll be at the Kids Matter conference. I want to remind you, you can catch an early premiere of this film at the Kids Matter conference. Make sure that you and your team take advantage of this opportunity. Releasing November 8th. The website is bestchristmaspageantever.movie. Dallas, two last things before we go. Number one, what can we do? And we've already talked about some of this, but what can we do as as a community of children's ministry leaders, children's pastors, children's ministry directors? What can we do to really get behind this project?
Well, that's a great question.
Yeah.
Thank you for asking it. Um,
Mhm.
if you like it, if it speaks to you, and I don't want to presume on anyone for that, but
Mhm.
I do think there's an opportunity to do this as an outing, as a family outing at your church, or as
Mhm.
a Sunday school outing of some kind. Down
Yeah.
the road, there will be times when it's released on home video, of course, or on online or on DVDs,
Yeah.
to have screenings of it at your church or to show it to the kids. But in the meantime, encouraging theatrical attendance. The reason, I'm sure you've heard this before, the reason why that's important, especially opening weekend or as you're doing your kind of Christmas initiatives in November and
Uh-huh.
December, is because uh, that's that's how we vote with our dollar,
Yeah.
and with our presence. This is how we tell Lionsgate, the studio,
Yeah.
and the theaters all over the country, keep doing more movies like this. To reward them for choosing to spotlight and platform a movie like this, which I'm telling you, on the surface, it's a mainstream family comedy. Beneath the surface, but not that subtle, it is
Yeah.
a Jesus story through and
Amen.
through. And Jesus is proclaimed, the story of the Nativity is proclaimed loud and clear in a big mainstream Hollywood movie. By Hollywood, I mean financed by Hollywood,
Yes.
all over the country. And I think the more of these we can get out there, the better. And what will encourage them to do more is if people actually show up. Now, I'm not trying to guilt trip you into it or anything like that.
No.
If you are on the fence about whether you want to see it in theaters or wait till it comes to
Mhm.
home video, don't wait. Go see it in
Yeah.
theaters. It's
That's
going to
so
make a
smart.
difference.
Dallas, you love the Lord, obviously, you love the church, you love ministry leaders. Would you give just a word of encouragement to every children's ministry leader, kids pastor, youth pastor who's watching or listening to this? Would you just give them a word of encouragement in what they're doing as we wrap up?
Oh, easily. I'm thrilled to do that. So I happen to be a parent of 4 kids who love Jesus and have loved Jesus as long as we can remember. Even my kids, who were parented in the way of the Lord, needed church to supplement what we were doing at home. What we are doing at home is vital. It's the majority of it, but it's not the only thing. We have to have other people in our lives, other people pouring into our kids. So that's number one, is that you are doing, even for the kids who are raised in godly homes, you are doing an essential service. But there's also that important role of doing what sometimes parents are not doing at home. And that 1 hour, that 2 hours a week that you are pouring into them, or if you ever have the opportunity to do more, even outside of the weekend services, you are planting seeds, you are tilling soil that I know it's hard. I know it's painful. I know it takes time. I know sometimes it's depressing. I know sometimes it feels like a failure, because sometimes you'll pour time and energy into a kid, and then you'll find out that kid got arrested, or you find out that kid got caught doing something or left home or whatever it is, and you feel like a failure. You are tilling soil, you are planting seeds. God is the one who's responsible for their hearts, but you are responsible for tilling that soil to make them open to his spirit. So thank you for what you're doing, and keep it up, because I need it as a parent. And I've also been there too. I've done kids ministry as well. I've done special needs ministry, and it is exhausting.
It is, isn't it? It's rewarding and
you
exhausting.
Wake up Sunday morning, you wake up on Sunday morning, and it's easy to say, well, you'll hear someone else go, oh, I can't wait to pour my heart into these kids. And you're like, why don't I feel that way? Why do I feel like this is drudgery? It's okay. It's okay. Keep asking God to be strong where you're weak, and Amen. He will thank you when you get to meet him.
He will. Well, Kidman community, take that word of encouragement from Dallas to heart. Let's all get behind this film, both in prayer and by buying some tickets and getting our families and our volunteers there. Releasing November 8th, 2024. Best Christmas Pageant Ever .movie. Dallas, thanks again.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
It's going to be the best Christmas pageant ever.
That's a pageant I'd like to see.
Don't miss out. The annual Christmas pageant tickets are on sale now.
They're advertising it on TV now?
The pageant is an especially big deal this year. It's the 75th anniversary.
I want to give special mention to Grace for volunteering to direct it.
You did what?
Oh no. Did somebody die?
It's worse than that, son.
It's going to be the best Christmas pageant ever.
Oh no. It's the Hermans. Now. The Hermans are absolutely the worst kids in the history of the world.
What'd they do now, dear? Break another window?
Set something on fire?
Steal your lunch and then punch you for not having any candy? No, even worse. We're gonna be in your Bible play.
Herdman's in church.
Oh boy.
We take the pageant seriously. It's about community and tradition. What do you all suggest, that I kick the Herdmans out of the church? Yes.
I want to be Mary, and Ralph wants to be Joe.
And the angel of the Lord?
Ow!
The Herdmans shouldn't be here. They're a poor influence. You don't look like any Mary I've seen before.
Don't touch him. I'm happy to take over the part at any time.
I can't just kick him out.
I thought you all might be interested in one of my stops.
You never told me you visited the Herdmans.
I got the biggest ham for you guys. Is your mom home?
Not when the sun's up. What if the Hermans ruin this for you?
They probably will, but it's not about me. Jesus was born for the Herdmans as much as he was for us. We'll be missing the whole point of the story if we turn them away.
Now that's a pageant I'd actually like to see. Mother Mary puffing on a cigar, shepherds clobbering each other with their hooks. $5 say they burned down the manger.